Hi, my name is Jim and our company is Vantage Property Management. Today we want to spend some time discussing one of, I think, the most fearful things that a owner or manager runs into, and that is what happens when the rent comes in late and you have to start some kind of proceeding to get the rent collected. Well, this is actually, part of this is for another subject, and that is good pre-screening up front, but we'll talk about that in another session. But if you're a landlord and you're collecting money from tenants, you've got to set up a compliant procedure that's the same for every tenant. There should be no deviations from it. Here at Vantage Property Management, our procedure is rent is due on the 1st. We allow the tenants a 5-day grace period in which to pay, but on day 6 the rent is late and we start a legal proceeding against the tenant. I constantly, almost once a week, get stories, phone calls from owners that have been doing it on their own, and it goes like, well, the rent was 1 month late, and then it was 2, and then I hear 3 and 4 and 5, ridiculous amounts of time where the rent hasn't been paid and nobody seems to know what to do about it. Well, there's simply no excuse for that in efficient property management. So, due on the 1st, 5 days to pay, on the 6th you go to court, which is, of course, is step 1 in an eviction. Now you're probably saying, well, no, that's the other extreme. We surely don't want to evict them for being simply 5 days late on their rent. And the answer is, of course, we hope we don't, but we're going to start the procedure. That's the main thing. The way it works in most Maryland counties is we file the paperwork with the district court on the 6th day of the month. We're asking for a hearing before a district court judge, which is normally a week later. During that time, a local sheriff is going to show up at the property and serve the summons to the tenant to appear in court. Now, this is real live court with a real live judge, and don't take it lightly. If you feel apprehensive about this or somewhat timid, you probably should contact an attorney to represent you or give you advice in the matter. However, it is a small claims item, so you can go before the court and represent yourself. The main thing to remember is the judge isn't on your side or on the tenant's side. They pretty well hear this case with an open mind, which means you're going to have to explain. How much rent was it? Do you have a copy of the lease with you? Why is it late? The tenant may have some argument as to why they didn't pay the rent and why the court should allow that. And the court's going to hear. They want to listen to it. Hear exactly what you have to say and then make a decision. If the landlord prevails, which of course in most cases we do because it's pretty much open and shut, there's a brief 5-day waiting period, and then we have to tromp back into court for another little dab of paperwork, which basically says the rent's still not paid, the tenant's there, and we want our house back. At that point, we get the sheriff's department involved, and an actual eviction takes place. But I'll be very frank with you, evictions are rare events if it's done properly. Here at Vantage Property Management, we manage over 300 homes, and we easily go several years at a time without actually having to evict anyone. Now, we go to court on a handful every month, of course, but usually by the time the court wheels start turning and the sheriff shows up, the rent gets paid, and that's good enough for us. It's literally case closed. We get the money to our landlord and hope it never happens again. That's sort of an overview, but if you have questions about how the procedure works, please feel free to contact us here at Vantage Property Management.